So this mindful meetup today, I'm recording, and this is something that you can practice anytime that you feel the need to support yourself and provide some compassion for yourself. Essentially, this is self-compassion practice. We're just focusing on the experience of grief and loss, but we're going to apply the same things we usually do to compassion practice, particularly self-compassion, but we will end with well wishes for everyone. So I'd invite you to, if you're not already, adopt a comfortable, upright, seated position where you feel supported, where you're not being casual. You're treating this meditation with the dignity and respect that you and it deserve. But no stiffness, no tension, just relax, be at ease as best you can. And a lot of meditation is about setting down what we're holding on to. So if you're literally holding anything in your hand or hands, set it aside. But I'd also invite us to set down the work of the day, the aspirations or desires of the day, and really arrive. It will be helpful if you have a soft downward gaze or allow the eyes to close gently so that your attention is really moving inward. And as you hear my words, just noticing if they're resonant for you. And if not, and even if they are, in either case, find your own words, find words or images that connect you more directly to your experience of grief and loss as we move through this process. And let's just begin by remembering why we're here. And if nothing else happens in the next few minutes, can we bring our attention more directly, more intimately, closely to the sensations of the body, remembering there is a body. And if it's your practice to focus on sensations of breathing, feel free to turn your attention to the breath. And if not, just holding space, holding sort of framework of attention on the fact that there is a body sitting, breathing, sensing. And you may be feeling pleasant sensations or unpleasant ones, or there might just be areas or sensations in the body that are neutral, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And just scanning the attention, sweeping it through the body to just see, how is it? How is it here in the body as we sit and breathe? And if there's any really obvious places where you're gripping or holding lots of tension, if it's possible to soften, to allow a letting go, and tuning in to the body's ability to be at ease, to be grounded and supported with ease. And if it's not possible to let go, if the body is held or in knots or tense, then that is how it is. And see if you can let go and soften the attitude toward that. Not forcing or demanding anything of the body right now. Simply opening to receive whatever sensations might be there. You may be aware of sounds in the room that you're in or the outer environment. And as we're guiding ourselves through this meditation on grief, as other thoughts and feelings arise, noticing them, allowing them to be there, but letting the forefront of attention be on turning toward this process of grief. So now I invite you to recall for a moment a loss that you've suffered. It could be recent, it could be simple, it could be far in the past and there's more grieving to do, to be with. It may be a very complicated loss. See what's arising right here in the heart space. Or there might be an anticipation of a loss. Something you are expecting in the near future. And if it helps, you can just lay a hand right on the center of the chest here, traditionally the heart space, if it's easier to tune into this loss that you're grieving. And I'm going to offer some simple phrases that will hopefully help us touch into this grief, this energy of grief. And you can repeat these phrases in your mind, silently to yourself if that's helpful, or simply receive the general tone and intention behind the phrases, and then notice how the body-mind responds. May I be open to this path of grief. May I be open to this grief. And just noticing what arises, whether it's resistance or acceptance. Whatever comes up, without rejecting it, without holding on to it. May I be open to this path of grief. May I be open to the sorrow, to the pain of grief. May I be open to the sorrow. May I open and accept the pain of grief. May I open to this grief. May I find the inner resources to be present to this sorrow. May I find the resources, the inner resources to be present to this sadness and grief. May I be able to access my inner resilience to meet my grief with present moment awareness. May I know my inner resilience to meet this sorrow. And just noticing what's arising as you allow these phrases to resonate. May I be open. May I find resources to bring present moment awareness to this sorrow, this pain. As we repeat these simple phrases, if judgment or resistance arises, no problem, it will pass. Similarly, as we're repeating the phrases, if the attention should wander, that's normal. No need to judge that. Simply return to the present moment. And again, seeing if your own touch supports present moment awareness and continued opening to the sorrow, the sensations of grief in the body. May I be willing to feel this sorrow fully. May I be willing to feel the pain of grief. May I have the courage to meet the pain of this sorrow with kindness and acceptance. May I have the courage to meet this pain and sorrow with present moment awareness and acceptance. May I accept this sadness, knowing that I am not my sadness. May I accept this sadness, knowing that I am not my sadness. And just feeling how the energy of these phrases are moving through the body. Noticing strong emotion if that's what's arising for you, and making space around it. May I open, may I welcome and include whatever emotions are arising around my grief. May I be open to however my grief is arising in this moment. May I trust whatever emotions, thoughts, sensations are arising on this path of grief. May I trust whatever feelings, sensations, and thoughts are here in this sorrow. May I trust this grieving process just as it is. May I trust this process of grieving no matter what. Knowing that our own path of grief, our own sorrow, our own experience of loss is unique to us. And yet, beginning to understand that the grief we experience opens us most directly to our shared humanity, to our vulnerable, interdependent connection to all other humans and all other beings. May I remember that I am not alone in my grief. May I remember that I am not alone in feelings of grief and sorrow and loss. And now, as you are opening to connect your own grieving process with that of other humans, perhaps someone has come to mind. And if not, open to see who might arise in the heart space who also is experiencing loss, struggling with pain, grief, sorrow. And perhaps this is someone you would like to help. And perhaps that's not so easy. So just holding this person in your heart, mind, and sending, opening thoughts of compassion and support for this person. May you have the courage to accept your sorrow just as it is. May you find the inner resources you contain to meet your grief with present moment awareness. May you open to your path of grief with willing compassion and courage. And if this person is someone that you feel you haven't been able to support, just turning some compassionate forgiveness toward yourself. May I forgive myself for not always being able to meet my loved one's needs. May I forgive myself for not always being able to meet my loved one's needs. And may I forgive myself for mistakes I've made and things left undone. May I forgive myself for mistakes made and things left undone. May I forgive myself for mistakes I've made and for the things left undone. May I forgive myself. May I be open with others about my grief. May I be open with others and with myself around my grieving process. May I be open with myself and with others around my experience of loss and sorrow. May I be open. And may I be open to receive the kindness of others as they support me in my experience of loss. May I be willing to receive the kindness of others. May I open to be supported by others as I experience loss. And now in our final few moments of this practice, let's expand our heart minds to include all beings everywhere. Those we know, those we do not know, those we like, those we do not like. May I and all beings learn from and grow from the experience of loss. May I and all beings learn from and transform our sorrow. May I and all beings everywhere be transformed by our experience of loss. May I and all beings everywhere be liberated through our grief. May I and all beings everywhere transform grief and be transformed by it. And again, just beginning to notice and know what's arising in the body, in the mind, in the heart, without clinging to it, without pushing it away. In this way, our tender, sensitive hearts are learning how to be with what is difficult, learning how to be with what is painful. And as we learn how to be with the somewhat mysterious process that we call grief, holding ourselves open to the possibility that this expands our shared humanity, that the pain and sorrow we feel are a tenderizer for the heart that brings us closer to one another and to our own liberation. May all beings everywhere quickly come to know the truth of the way things are and be liberated. Thank you for your practice. I wish you well.